family, I don't want to be told what to do. So he went into the army in the Vietnam War, where they obviously didn't tell him what to do at all, right?
Yeah.
So that didn't work out, but
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Joe, Dr. Energy Piazza.
Rara is in the house. Catherine Asaro Myers.
Welcome back to BU Network Podcast, Conversations Worth Having. On our podcast, you can expect three things. 1, the BU guest moment. 2, the BU moment. And 3, the BU final moment.
As promised, we are giving you a very special audible on each show. Your job, well, not your job, it's to find it. You know the game Where's Waldo? Well, here we will ask you to listen for that audible.
Dr. Energy.
Mm-hmm.
How do I sound tonight?
Sound really good. The mic is sounding really good.
Well, this is how my BU moment's going to go. So let's hear, what is your day like today and what is going on in your head? And then tell us about your physical space.
Yes, there's some new developments. I'm going to go that in reverse order, I think, because there's been some new developments in the physical space for sure. I just recently got a desk mount for my external monitors. Well, actually, I got a new computer, so I have, and it's capable of running the dual monitors. So I have 2 monitors set up. So at first I called it Mission Control, but then I renamed it to the Bat Cave. So
I love it.
I have both my monitors set up so I can work off of 2 screens at the same time, and it just makes the workflow much more efficient, and it keeps so when we're doing a podcast, I can have the information about a guest up on the monitor just to remind me if I need any reminders or something like that. It just really keeps the work. And when I'm editing, I can be, finding assets in the hard drive, but also editing on a different screen. So it's just really, really cool setup. And with having the mount for the monitors, it gets them up off the desk and takes some of the clutter off of my desk. So that helps my mind be more free and less cluttered. So that's kind of what's going on in my mind. And then what's been going on today, just a really nice, quiet sort of day. I was up late last night. I kind of got down the rabbit hole a little bit on watching some videos. I was looking at some old music from the 60s and 70s. Some of my favorite bands like Leonard Skinner or some old Joe Cocker from when he performed at Woodstock, when he did with a little help from my friends. It was just like, that's one of my all-time favorite versions of any song. There was some Stevie Ray Vaughan. He was a blues guitarist from Texas and probably one of the best blues guitar players to have lived in the last 30 or 40 or 50 years. The guy is just incredible. So I was looking at some of that, and I got carried away with it, and I ended up staying up a little later than I should have.
What's a little late?
Oh, I hesitate to say, but it was into the wee hours of the morning, maybe even almost the beginning of the next day.
So like when we were younger, you mean that kind of late?
Yeah, that kind of late. Like you almost decide, is it better to go to bed or just stay up? Is that kind of late?
I remember those disco days when we used to go have breakfast at 5 o'clock in the morning and then get home by 6:37 and go to bed.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty close to that. It wasn't too far off that. I was really enjoying myself. I was enjoying myself so much that I lost track of the time, which is kind of why it ended up being such a late night or early morning.
Can we reference that song, your favorite all-time song?
Oh, Joe Cocker with a little help from my friends? Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Beatles version is amazing too, but just Joe Cocker's, his Woodstock version was just gives me chills.
All right, let's do that, because we always have a musical connotation to what we do with our
Let's see what I can do with it.
shows. Okay, good. Yeah, another. As you're telling me your BU moments, I'm giving you ideas, but I'm just thinking since you love it so much, we should put it up there, right?
Sure. So, and now, how about you? What's happening with you? What's up in Catherine and Ra-Ra's world today?
Today, not much was up. I was more like not up at all. I had a me for relaxing self-care day. It was just one of those days where I got things done, but it was without any conversation. It was all by text and electronic. Oh, I did. That's not true. I did have a really great conversation with Randy. That's not true. When I was in my bridge room. Okay.
Right. For the most part, it was electronic.
For the most part, it was electronic. And it was a day to really charge my battery. Good. I needed to do that. And right now I'm in my bridge room staring at what will soon become ground control for Major
Tom.
Major Tom.
David Bowie,
Yep. So I'm going to have ground control for Major Tom. This is what I'm envisioning right now. And then we'll play that song. Let's reference that song. So can we reference 2 songs while we're at it? Why one when we can do 2?
Hey, I'd be happy to put together a whole set list.
Yeah, let's do. Oh, okay. Now that's another idea. We should put a playlist together.
Yeah, there was a movie of several years back. I couldn't tell you how many. Something about so and so's infinite playlist or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the movie was called, but.
Okay, let's think about that. Let's put some tunes together because we should have a playlist. You and I are really into some of these. Yeah. Okay, good.
Throw a little Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett in there too, and now we're talking.
Of course. And
Johnny Cash.
My Way, The King and I, great songs like that. The songs we live by.
Exactly.
So I'm having a good time because I'm high energy. This was when you feed your energy and you recharge your battery, you hit the ground running. So let's just hope that I save this for tomorrow and don't stay up all night. But I won't. So I'm really high energy. I'm excited about our guests. Yes. I'm excited about the things that we have going on in our BU podcasts and in general in our BU network, in our business, in our world. That's just uplifting.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of, I don't know, I've been noticing a lot of shift going on around me in people's energies and what they're doing, where the focus is going. And I'm not sure what it's all leading to exactly. I have some inklings, I think, but it's really exciting to see where it's going. And, this, like you're saying about having the energy to hit the ground running, much like I think our guest had some experience with that when she transitioned from school into the Army. So should be interesting to hear about.
Yes, and let me not forget to mention my 10-pound dumbbell.
Oh, of course, it's going to be like the star of the show. Maybe we should make that the logo for our podcast, the 10-pound dumbbell.
We still can. We can still do this. We can recreate and we can transform because the 10-pound dumbbell is a staple in this show.
Exactly. Maybe we'll put a picture and put it in there somewhere.
Okay. Yes, because it's a Bowflex 10-pound dumbbell, not just any 10-pound dumbbell.
No, it's an adjustable one. Yes.
Right. I'll take a picture of that and then we can do a little magic between that and the music.
Sure. Cool.
And I do want to reference that anyone who's listening who is not really into exercise and wondering, like, what are these 2 people talking about? So we have a strong background in health and fitness and well-being. And if you're not sure how that plays a part in your life at this moment, you know that when you feel good, you can say, I'm feeling good because I'm eating, I'm sleeping, I'm resting, all these things that are happening. When you don't feel good, you're like, I don't know why that's happening. I'm doing everything right. But here's the ultimate compliment. Now, I don't know if we're going to keep this in, but so today when I was resting and kind of, just really very casual and not all my yoga clothes, my yoga gear, my husband says, like, are you doing squats? I'm like, well, not right now. Why? He's like, I just want to tell you that this, you exercise every single day and I can really tell. And I'm like, what can you tell? He's like, I'm just saying that the squats, I can tell. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now you know that when I run home and I change my clothes and I get in the car and I run to a class and then I go to the gym because I have 57 minutes and I'll do a 55-minute workout. And he's like, yeah, I get it. I said, because I feel and I see the results. But the ultimate compliment is when someone's got your back and says, hey, are you squatting? I'm like, yes. That's fantastic. So do that.
That's awesome.
Listeners, go in there, get into the gym, do some squats, pick up a 10-pound dumbbell, do some planks, do a whole bunch of things. And if you have any questions about that, ask us. We've got a great background in that. We'll talk to you about exercise.
In fact, we'll probably talk your ear off about it if you want, if you let us.
So get in touch with us and let us know what your dealio is about your body, and we'll talk about it.
Exactly. All right. So let's go. I think we should hit the ground running and head on over to speak with Donna.
Let's do that. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you on the other side.
Good evening, Dr. Energy. How are you tonight?
I'm doing awesome. I had a great day. It was a beautiful sunny day here, and I was able to get outside and enjoy it. We are still in the depths of winter, but it's a really nice day to be outside, sunshine and reflecting off the snow. It was a good day.
Oh, I had a lot of reflecting too, but it wasn't off the snow. But it was great. It was a great day. Let me take this opportunity to introduce, speaking of passionate, since we're both so passionate about so many things in our lives, I want to introduce to our audience and to you a really wonderful woman. I have to tell you how we met. So I'm going to play this up a little bit and take out all the facts so that it sounds really bad. So we met at a bar in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Hey, hold on a second here. I got to interject. You are going to play something up. I never would have expected that. Okay, I've said my piece. Go ahead.
It's so hard to imagine I would do such a thing. So there I am sitting at a bar in Scottsdale, Arizona, all by myself, waiting for my fruit to come because it was breakfast, just before we go into a meeting. And here comes this woman. And at this moment, there was a feeling that it happens, and you feel this in your life and you make a connection with people, and there was that instant connection. So it wasn't the morning, there were no drinks involved, it wasn't that kind of a thing. I just wanted to play it up like that. So I want to tell you a little bit about Donna. Donna's a professional, and she began working in the Army Nurse Corps. After 22 years of being in that field, Donna retired. And then she moved to Denver, and she entered the civilian job markets. At the age of 62, Donna's job was eliminated. She began looking for alternatives other than the 9-to-5 office job or work in healthcare. She made a bold move. When most of her peers were retiring, she entered into the network marketing industry and decided to become an entrepreneur. Now, Donna discovered a company called SendOutCards. We know that company. In 2010.
I've never heard of that company.
We live and breathe this company.
Yes.
As a follow-up tool for her first network marketing business. Now, with 9 years of experience and almost 10,000 cards sent under her belt, and I'll explain that. We don't send the cards under your belt. We send them
you could if you wanted to.
For our phone. And if your phone's under your belt, then we can be authentic about that. But Donna's here tonight to speak to us as a published author. Donna published her book, Deal Your Own Cards, 10 Skills to Build a Winning Hand.
Oh, I like that.
Right? But the beautiful, the cover of this book is really awesome.
I'm looking at it right now.
I know, me too. I love it. I love the colors. I love the whole idea. I love the French manicure. This book takes hundreds of hours of personal development and boils it down to a simple guide to help a new affiliate get started with SendOutCards. While primarily written for SendOutCards, her book is a great resource for anyone in the network marketing industry. Donna is stepping out to an even greater presence with her book as she helps hundreds, maybe thousands, get their businesses off the ground. So Donna's here tonight to talk to us about her book. Welcome, Donna Sylvester. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction, and what a relaxing introduction. Thank you so much, Kat.
You're welcome. Welcome, Donna. Welcome.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Energy, you are.
Yes.
Oh, you're welcome, Donna. It's really so fun how we met, and it's so intriguing to me how you spent 22 years in the Army Nurse Corps. Let's talk a little. Let's talk a little bit, because I'm from New York, so that might slip out in my accent. Let's talk a little bit about you and the Army Nurse Corps. Can you share with our audience what was it like to be in that field for 22 years?
Wow, that's a great question. So I got started in the Army Nurse Corps when I was still in college. I was in my senior year at Ohio State, and that was 1968, 69, that time frame, and Vietnam was gearing up, and there was a program that allowed you to come on active duty while you were still in school, and then you just owed 4 years of time to pay back what they did for you while you were in school. And you know, I was in school on a wing and a prayer, and they offered to pay my salary while I was finishing the degree. They offered health care while I finished the degree, and it just relieved a lot of financial stress. So I joined in order to get that assistance to finish my degree at Ohio State. Finished there and came right into active duty, which was definitely not exactly what I expected. It was a fast-paced takeoff to my career, for sure.
Hit the ground running, right?
I did. I had a very short 9-month assignment at Fort Riley in Kansas, and then my next assignment was Vietnam. And
wow,
I was a brand new nurse, and my fear was less about the environment of that war zone than it was about whether I would be adequate to take care of the soldiers that came into my hands. And so that was what was really frightening for me about that particular tour of duty.
Yeah. Well, now, Donna, my brother enlisted in the Army in that Vietnam War in the United States. My mom, when he came home, my mom said, "You did what?" He said, "I enlisted in the Army to go to Vietnam." So yeah, that's quite a decision to have to deal with at that young age, correct?
It is. And I have to say, I didn't think about, he enlisted in order to be a part of that. That was not in my thinking.
Yes.
Right.
You know, my thought was about how can I pay for the rest of the things I need to pay for in order to complete my degree.
Right.
And I assume your brother came home?
Yes, he did. And we were always wondering why he went at that age. And I think he did that to sort of get out of that Italian strict family. I don't want to be told what to do. So he went into the Army in the Vietnam War, where they obviously didn't tell him what to do at all, right? So that didn't work out, but he had some great education, met a Fraulein, but that was part of his personal life. That wasn't part of his professional life, nor did he bring her home. But I remember my mom calling Germany. He was stationed, he actually ended up going to Germany, believe it or not.
I see.
So that was really an amazing, I guess the prayers helped on the family's part. Plus my mother, I think, called every sergeant possible in the Army. And somehow she had some pull. I don't know. There was a great story there. But yes, he did come home. Some of his friends didn't, right?
Right.
And I remember that when you just said that, I remember sitting there when he came home. I remember when his friends came to visit before he came home. I remember that tense, immense feeling of how everyone was serving their country. You did an amazing thing at that time, though. I mean, you still do, but that was an amazing leap that you took?
Well, and it was a tougher time for families because, the men and women that are deployed today have iPads and computers and cell phones and all kinds of ways to maintain contact with their families. And when I was in Vietnam, we didn't have any of that. The only way to communicate with families, other than to write a letter, which took forever to get home, was to schedule a Mars radio call to your family.
Right.
So I scheduled to call my mom on Christmas Day. You had to schedule like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and I scheduled to call her. And on Christmas Day, the radio tower went down.
Oh.
There was no way to let her know that there was nothing wrong with me.
Wow.
And she called the White House. Yes, she did.
Mr. President.
Where is my daughter and why didn't she call me?
Your mother and my mother had something in common, Donna.
Yeah. So I understand your mother calling all the sergeants to stay on top of what was happening with her boy.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So tell us, how was that for you? You said you were concerned about your ability to serve those soldiers, but you obviously persevered that. There's something in you that you have a deep belief. You did that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that dedication and that belief?
I think part of it is the team concept that develops around you in the Army throughout all my assignments. That first one in Vietnam was probably the most intense team cohesion I've ever experienced, because the environment was such that you really had nothing to do other than to support each other in the work environment. And so the young enlisted 91Cs, they were the equivalent of what we might know as an LPN in the civilian world. They just took me under their wings and taught me what I needed to know in order to do the things that were in my responsibility, and yet beyond what I had really had a lot of hands-on experience with. And that really continued throughout all of my Army assignments. It's just what allows you to do what you need to do is the cohesion that you develop with the people that are on the nursing unit that you work on or in the hospital you're assigned to. And I think even the fact that you move around from location to location, I'm not certain what that's like as a civilian who moves to a new city, but when you move as an Army member of the Army team, there's all kinds of systems to help you get into the new community that were really helpful. And, that enables you to do your job.
It's that, it's like life accelerated, right? You have all this experience of team bonding and commitment and trusting in each other everybody to fill their role and do their job, so that you can come to rely on that sense of community and connection. But it's such a concentrated, intense time. It takes it, and it's almost like it's written on your soul to some degree. It's so intense. That's
a really good way to describe it. And the relationships are what make it work. You're so passionate about fitness, Dr. Energy. I was not at all, had never really done anything athletic. And when the Army tells you that you have to do these PT tests and you have to learn to run and that sort of thing, that was very new for me. And the troops around me just said, okay, let's go. I'll meet you at 5 o'clock in the morning on corner XYZ, and we're just going to get this done. Right. And it's just that allows you to do what you need to do.
And having that structure, the plan, like you said, there's systems and plans to help, move the whole unit or the whole division and stuff like that. And that's having that sense, it creates a coherence, right? Like you said, you use the word yourself, cohesion, that allows everybody to know what to do and where to go and what to focus on.
Right, for sure.
Now, Donna, tell us about the times where there wasn't cohesion, where it didn't work. What happened then?
What happened when there wasn't cohesion? I can assure you there were times when there was not the cohesion that needed to be there. Mm-hmm. And I was in leadership roles a lot of the time that I was in the Army. And I just had to kind of dig deep and work on finding ways to build bridges to get things done. one of the times that comes to my mind, it was my last assignment, and because of the demands, it was right when Desert Storm, we were sending people over to Iraq, and the demands in the hospital were strong enough that they put the nursing staff on 60-hour weeks.
Wow.
And I guarantee you there was not a lot of cohesion around how to make that happen.
Right.
I had young lieutenants who had kids, and I had young folks that were, in after work school programs, and it was difficult. And I just had to dig deep and keep working with individuals to figure out how to enable them to meet the challenges that were put on both of our plates.
Right, to rise to the challenge. So
it
to
was
speak,
tough,
right?
for sure.
Yes. And then Donna, I want to put the dots together here. After your time at the Army, and thank you for sharing that, at the Army Nurse Corps, you then went into another field that went away due to, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. I rumbled around a bit when I came out of the Army in terms of finding my next position, because in the Army, you don't interview for a job. You go to your new assignment and they say, go here and do that. And you say, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And so I came out without that experience of how to interview for a job. The job that you're referencing was a position where I was the director of education for a company that ran a certification program for people who work with older adults. And so I wrote manuals and I taught and I found teaching faculty. It was right up my alley in terms of the work that I did. And I worked with that company for 10 years before the economy. It was one of those discretionary designations. It wasn't a have to have it. And so when the economy tanked, their program wound down a bit, and wound down enough that he converted it to an online program. And then ultimately I needed to move on because I needed more work than he was able to give me as his program wound down.
So how did you feel then?
Well, I had to give it some thought. I never felt like I didn't have options. It was just a matter of saying, okay, I've been doing this. It was fun. It was a great job. I met some incredible people, and now I need to shift gears. And my focus was on finding a way to generate income in a way that didn't have me doing things I really didn't want to do. I did not want to go back into healthcare. I didn't want to work 9 to 5. And yet I still needed to create some income. And I feel like I was just blessed to bump into network marketing.
Well, you got to have that income keep coming in if you're going to play golf and ride motorcycles, right?
Exactly.
Yes, I read.
I'm
very
a golfer
carefully.
too, so I get it.
I read what you said. You were not going to change your lifestyle to meet your income. You were going to make sure that your income met your lifestyle. Don, I want to talk a little bit about writing a book, the process. So if our audience is listening today and they're thinking, I want to write a book, and you have a process for that. You had a thought, you obviously organized yourself. Can you speak a little bit about how you did that? And then we'll get into the book next. So how did you put together, did you sit at write it in a book? Did you tell it? Did you record it? I was going to say, did you type it on a typewriter? Did you?
Now we're going old. No, that's going old school.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, what do I mean by that?
There's people out there going, what's a typewriter?
Exactly. Did you type it on your laptop? Did you voice it to Siri? And then did somebody help you with that? Was there a ghostwriter? Can you give us a little bit about that process?
That's a great question too. You're doing really good with these questions.
Thank you.
Do our best.
I had a business coach at the time, and I was thinking about how could I pass along information that I had gleaned to a team in a way that was efficient. And one weekend I sat down and I just kind of wrote out the first 4 chapters. I really wasn't even thinking of a book so much. I just wrote out the first 4 topics that came to my mind, and I took it the next week to my coaching appointment. And this man, who has a significant background in network marketing in addition to traditional business, looked at it and he said, Donna, this is really gold. If you put this together, it will really help launch your team. So the first 4 topics and chapters just kind of, writing is not difficult for me. They just kind of fell out onto the page, and I did it on a laptop. I just typed it in, and I relied on his eyes to say, yeah, you're onto something here, and you really should finish this. And so that was the first step. And it sat untouched for several months after that until I got into another coaching program where I had to set a very specific goal to accomplish over a 90-day period. And the goal I set was to complete the draft of that book. And so with that goal in mind, I just made an outline of the chapters and began to fill in the content.
Right. Well, I believe that you live the content of this book, Donna. And I say that with admiration because I can feel that from what I've read in your book and how I've spoken with you. One of the quotes that I really appreciate is, and I believe you do this, is the best advice you can have, the best advice you've ever received, forgive me, is meet people and make friends. And I'll reference that on page 46 so that when our listeners have your book, they can go to that. And I believe that you live that.
Right. That was really helpful to me in terms of in network marketing, thinking about who am I going to talk to about SendOutCards. Mm-hmm. And it was just really helpful when the trainer that I heard that from said, listen, it's just really about meet people and make friends. And so that was really very helpful advice in terms, it relaxed me about how am I going to find people to talk to about what I do? Well, the first step is meet people and make friends.
Yep.
Right.
It's a pretty good rule for life, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
People talk to you as well. So they might have something they want to say to you before you even have a chance to think about what you're going to say to them.
It's interesting to me the number of people that come across my attention in network marketing when they're considering it, who'll say something along the lines of, well, I really don't want to pitch this to my family and friends. Who else would I talk to? And
right.
I'm very confident that that I can help them find more people to talk to than they have time to talk to. You know,
I'm sure you can. And I can tell that you spoke to a bunch of very interesting people and mutual friends. And I'd like to ask you about another quote, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'd like to talk to you about this quote, SendOutCards Eagle, Bob Golden, and what he says on page 149. SendOutCards will enhance whoever you are and whatever you do, no matter who you are and what you do. That gives us a big pond to fish.
Wow. That is a really powerful statement from him.
Isn't it?
I believe to the core of my being that it's true. And the reason I think it's true is because once you get focused on appreciating other people and recognizing and acknowledging other people, it makes you a better person. Yes. And it certainly makes them a better person. And that concept works no matter whether you're a domestic engineer staying at home with kids or a rocket science engineer. It just, no matter who you are, if you can focus on building up other people, you've made yourself better and made them better as well. So yes, that was a powerful statement for me when I heard him. You picked out a really good quote.
Well, I've had to go through this book of yours so that I could authentically discuss this with you. So did Bob say that to you directly, or were you listening to something that he had said elsewhere?
You know, I was in a training that he did. So I was in a live audience with him, him and his wife, Betty Ann. Yes. And we were interviewing him, and that was a response to one of the interview questions.
Nice.
That's an awesome response. Don, I want to go to the artwork for a moment. I love the artwork on your book, and I love postcard that you have in that. You have in the hand of the person on the book, it looks like what we would refer to as a Wordle, perhaps, or a word cloud. Did you create that for this book, or was that an image, the one in the front that says thank you?
No, I did not create that. I was very fortunate. I bumped into a company here in Denver that's kind of like a clearinghouse for resources to help authors. And I had, through that company, I hired a coach to help me finish the book. I had the draft completed in that 90-day coaching program. And then the next step was I hired this coach who specifically helped me with the various tasks of getting the book done. And one of them was to hire someone to do the cover. And so I described the concept I wanted. I wanted cards in the hands of an individual, and I didn't want to have to, I didn't want to step on any copyright toes with SendOutCards. So right. The cover artist put that together.
It's beautiful.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you for
colors,
sharing that.
The color, it's all very cohesive. The colors, the typography, the layout of it all. It's really, really nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My only input was that I love purple, and so so she had to come up with some ways to incorporate that color. And the rest of it was the cover artist.
Yeah, it's nice.
Great job. Great job.
Even the French manicure.
Love that. Love that French manicure.
Definitely not my hands.
Okay. Well, they could be anyone's hands, but this very, very nice, clean picture.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, I want to talk to you about the 10 skills, and maybe we won't go into all of them, but I'd like to ask you, do you have a favorite of those 10 skills that you would like to highlight to our audience?
I think probably the one that I'm the most passionate about is really not one of the skills so much, but it's really understanding the network marketing industry, because part of what generated this book was that when I came into network marketing, by the time I decided to make it a business, the person who brought me in was inactive, and I was kind of on my own. And I really had no idea what to say to people when they said something like, is this one of those pyramid schemes? I had no idea how to answer that question. And then once I got into SendOutCards, I bet you've bumped into this, Rara, when somebody says, well, I don't need what you do because I handwrite my notes.
Well, Donna, as you're speaking, I'm looking through to reference. I believe that key skill number 6 on chapter 8 is probably what you're referencing on page 85. So it's responding to prospect questions and concerns. I believe that if somebody's looking to pick up the book and pick up a key skill that you're talking about, I think chapter 8 would probably be, and key skill 6 would be what we're referencing right now, correct?
Boy, you honed right in on the location. I was thinking about the first couple of chapters where I talk about why you would want to do network marketing, but you're absolutely right that chapter 8, responding to prospect questions, will pull all of that into some ways that you can respond without arguing, which is what I did in the beginning. When somebody would ask me something like that, they would say, well, is this one of those pyramid schemes? I would get pretty defensive and argue with them about it. And I just learned you got to approach it differently.
Well, yes. And for our audience who's looking to understand what they're going to grasp, well, everyone will be attracted to something different. But if everyone knows that the author particularly likes this, they can go right to that. Now, I also like that you have this note section, which is really cool because I can write in this book. You know how we're taught, don't write in the book?
Right.
Okay, but
right.
I can do that in markers and pens. This is fantastic. It takes away that voice that tells me don't write in the book. And it's like, yes, you're messing with our heads. I love it.
You know, one of the things I did with my book, a friend showed me this. I took a book to Kinko's and I had it spiral bound to make it really easy to open to the chapters and write in the notes section. And that's been huge for me to find out that for just $5, I can go get my book spiral bound.
Yeah,
Mm.
and then you can fold it over on itself. And yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm a real bookophile. So when I see people bending books backwards and cracking the spine on the book, I just like cringe. So to hear that somebody actually took their book and made a spiral bound out of it to do it, I love that.
Yeah, it
Huh.
makes it really good. So thanks for knowing exactly where that was. But that's the thing that would have been most helpful to me in getting started. If somebody could have helped me know how to respond to the things that people would commonly say when I made a presentation.
It's definitely a learned skill of how to move people, how to work with people, meet them where they're at, and then help them potentially see something different. I often like to think of it as taking them on a detour. So rather than having them try to switch lanes on the highway abruptly, it's like, oh, let's take this ramp over here. And it's just a nice little gradual transition over here to this other lane over here. And that way it's not, you don't bash up against people's current beliefs as much.
That's really a good analogy about just taking a little ramp instead of having to switch lanes across 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
It makes the conversation more fun and pleasant too, because then you get to explore different things.
And you kind of have to get to the point where you recognize that there are some people that no matter what off ramp you use, they're not your people.
Yep.
And that's really hard, is to say there's just some people out there that are not my people. They're not my tribe. And there's nothing bad about that.
Right.
I just have to let go of the attachment that I can help every single person see the value in what I do.
You give so much value, Donna, because of how you give, which is from your heart with so much passion. And I'm really impressed by your favorite business books. If I can go to that for a second, I'm looking at all of them, and I have so many favorites myself, but maybe you can give an insight to our audience so they can know a little bit more about the author. I'm on page 188 where it has my favorite business books. Would you like to share with us maybe 1 or 2 of your favorite books, and then maybe we'll talk about our BU final moment, but I'm sure that you have something to say about all these awesome books.
You know, that was maybe one of the most fun pieces of putting this book together, was to get to annotate these books. And gosh, I could talk about all of them. But one of the ones that I talk about regularly is actually the first book on my favorite books, The 365 Thank Yous by John Kralik. And John is an attorney whose life was in the toilet, and he was inspired to write 365 thank you notes. He had never written a thank you note before. He did not use SendOutCards. He just hand wrote notes. And the book is how he determined who to send the note to. He actually kept an Excel spreadsheet of what he said in the note, and then the response that came from sending the note. And it's been a powerful, powerful book for me in terms of expanding who I think about to send a note to, and what I might say. So it's a really good first book for people. I don't know about you, Rara, whether you bump into people who, when you're talking to them about SendOutCards, whether you bump into people that say, I don't know who I would send a card to. Do you bump into that?
We could have a whole nother show.
Yeah,
we could have a whole nother show.
A couple trainings on that, yeah.
I want to keep this about you, but to answer your question, after 11 years, I do hear a lot of different responses from people. And thank you for asking that. And we will definitely talk about that. I want to ask you one more question, Donna, about,
Sure.
and thank you for giving us your book choice. I just want to make sure before we go to our BU final moment that not to forget about Beach Money, and not that we would forget it, Jordan Adler's Beach Money and Better Than Beach Money, which I'm certain you have probably autographed.
Yes.
Books in your hand from Jordan Adler, and we have read them not once, not twice, but repeatedly. They are a staple in our library, and thank you for having those in your reference. I'm sure that was a fun part, and I know this is another show to talk about all of those books. And it really helps when the audience gets to know a bit about the author, and you've really given us such a wonderful window of opportunity to learn about you tonight. I know that this is not
the only conversation we're going to have, but for the purpose of our show, our audience definitely could dig deep and pick up your book and learn more about you and go to the pages that we referenced and look at the books and read the books that you recommend. And I would like to know if it's okay with you if we go around the room at this time and we talk about something to learn more about you as well, and all of us. It's called our BU final moment. So what that means to us, and we refer to the final moment as our takeaway. I'd like to start with you, and please feel free to, maybe we'll all take like a minute or something like that. We'll be in a BNI meeting right now. We'll ding each other at a minute.
45 seconds, go.
45 seconds, 45 seconds. Okay, Donna, can you share with us your BU final moment?
My takeaway from the conversation tonight is just being transparent, is about the two of you. You've asked really great questions. You've pulled out some really important things from the book. I love the heart and the passion that you put into your show, to your podcast, and I love what you're about. And it's been a great conversation. So that would be my takeaway from tonight.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Energy, 35 seconds. Go ahead.
Oh, I get even less time. Okay.
Yes,
because
and I'll
I've done
get
this
even
before,
less.
right? So my takeaway would just be about the coherence, the cohesion, about aligning to a purpose. And one of my mentors once was very fond of saying, no one can anchor to an unanchored mind. So basically know where you're going and how you want to get there, and people will connect, and why you're going there, and people will connect with that. Otherwise, it's really hard to make connections with people.
Thank you.
And yourself.
Oh, thank you for asking.
Oh, of course.
My takeaway from today is we all have something so deeply embedded in us, the three of us, and so many other people. We share this passion, this business, we share this profession, that we could talk for such a long time. I don't want to say forever, but what I got out of this final moment tonight is camaraderie. Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you, Dr. Energy. On that note, let's call it a night.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you both. It was great to meet you.
You as well.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Sharing is caring. Tell your friends about conversations worth having on BU Network. We really appreciate your reviews, and you can do that on Apple Podcast. Thank you.
For show notes and links, go to www.b-u.network/podcasts. Connect with us via our website, www.b-u.network.
We're looking forward to hearing from you, and thank you for being with us. Ciao.
Ciao, babies.